Joining us now, former deputy assistant to the president, Fox News national security strategist Sebastian Gorka, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Pam, thoughts?
Oh, Sean, it's like you said, if we were watching this on a movie, I don't think anyone would believe it, how unreal it is and what you've uncovered, what Fox has uncovered. First of all of these people need to be wiped off the case. They need to start over. There's no question about that. And I will say this every time. There are so many great men and women in our federal government, just like you said. But this has really gotten out of control. I think Ron DeSantis asked some great questions today. Trey Gowdy was great. And Rod Rosenstein sat there and answered him. And Rod said something, and I know Rod. Let me tell you, I know Rod. I've dealt with Rod, and I have only had completely ethical dealings with Rod. And that's my hope right here. He said something. It is their responsibility to be sure influence do not.
Pam, what else do we need?
Opinions don't influence their actions. Well, what we need now is to get all of these other people off the case. And from hearing him today, I think he's ethical. I think all these people need to be removed. They're not.
Pam,
if you take Strzok and Page,
he said he thinks Mueller's doing a good job.
I think we need to hold on, though, Sean, and see what happens. I'm not defending Mueller. I'm not defending Rosenstein right now. But what I'm saying is, given everything that you've exposed, giving the hard-hitting questions today that he got at Congress, let's see what happens now. Let's see. All of these people need to be wiped out. There are plenty of good people out there who can handle a case, who have no influence. They haven't given to either party. And as you said, 8 out of the 16 people have not only donated to Democrats, but they have been very active in the anti-Trump movement. They all need to be gone.
Gorka.
Frankly, if they're if they're talking about Andrew McCabe, there could be some criminal issues involved here too. Very strong criminal issues.
How do we interpret, Dr. Gorka, the insurance policy that they discussed with who we think is Andrew McCabe? Is the insurance policy, when you look at the timeline, that we'll just go after Trump and we'll manufacture Trump-Russian collusion, and that'll be the means to take out a duly elected president if we need to, because we're smarter than everybody else that voted for Donald Trump?
Sean, I'm not going to interpret, hypothesize, or parse what individual words in these text messages mean. We have enough evidence already. And I have to disagree with Pam. It's not about replacing individuals. It's about dissolving this team. It isn't. We now know this team, Mueller's team, is manned by members of Hillary's so-called resistance movement. There's a reason that Lady Justice is blindfolded. In this case, she's taken her blindfold off. She's partisan, and she's using that sword to attack the president. And one crucial point, where is Peter Strzok today? The second these text messages came out, Director Wray should have gone up to Peter Strzok, taken his gun, taken his badge, and fired him from law enforcement. He is now in the HR department of the Bureau. Think about what you can do at the HR department. Is he there massaging documents? Is he hiding the political identities of other people investigating the president? This isn't political bias. This is corruption at the highest level of law enforcement.
How can he look at the team of Clinton lovers, Trump haters that have been assembled, the unethical, proven behavior of Andrew Weissman? How could he look at this team that he has put together, and then we hear, I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way Trump gets elected. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in case you die before you're 40. I can't interpret that as any other way than deep state, powerful operatives scheming, plotting, and planning to undermine an election. Tell me where I'm wrong, Pam Bondi.
No, and Sebastian, you used much better words than I. That team they need to be dissolved and they need to be investigated. I guess I'm holding out hope that Rod Rosenstein, after listening to him testify, that he is having that entire team investigated.
Pam, why doesn't he see the team?
I can tell you, Sean.
I hope he sees it, and I hope they're being dissolved. And I hope we see very soon, and dissolved is a much better word, Sebastian, that this team needs to be wiped out.
Let me give you one example.
I agree with that.
Comey and Strzok. They're the two guys that exonerated Hillary Clinton. We now know on the email server investigation, they exonerated her before the investigation. Now, that sounds like obstruction to me.
They're corrupt. They're corrupt. Comey is corrupt. Strzok is corrupt. I know Rod Rosenstein. I've met him. He is a quintessential bureaucratic survivor. He is going to skate along trying to make everybody happy, but he's not going to change the fundamentally corrupt nature of this team. Even Mueller himself, he's a Vietnam vet. He's got a sterling record, but maybe he's just utterly tone deaf. You cannot have 10 people that are absolutely in the tank for Hillary investigate the Republican president who defeated Hillary.
I gave you the one example. I'll give you another example. What about the dossier? How is it possible 4 doors down from Rod Rosenstein is a guy by the name of Bruce Orr? He's meeting with Fusion GPS as this is all going on. His wife is doing anti-Trump research for them. 4 doors down. Now, Trump-Russia collusion. How about Hillary paying for Russian propaganda lies that were used in a campaign to influence the American people? Is that collusion, Pam?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can't blame Rosenstein just because his office is 4 doors down. And again, I'm not defending him. I'm saying I'm hoping he's going to do the right thing. I know him. I've worked with him. All of these people, I agree, need to be dissolved off this investigation. And he said we're going to be seeing something very soon. And that's what I'm hopeful we're going to be seeing, because he's supervising Mueller.
This is worse than Watergate on a million levels here.
I agree.
By the time we untangle this massive web of corruption, it will be worse than Watergate. It will be Watergate on human growth hormone and steroids combined at massive levels.
It's a banana republic.
And you're the one who had to untangle it, Sean, not the federal government.
It's
That's
sad.
the shame of it.
And the media is nowhere to be found. They're still locked into a 1-year investigation with zero evidence. That's how pathetic they are.
I doubt we would have had today's hearing without you, Sean. That's how bad it is.
A lot of Sarah Carter, John Solomon, and some of our colleagues here at Fox, Catherine Herridge and others. It's literally a small group, and all of you. Thank you.
My friends, it's one thing to have a political opinion. It's quite another thing for members of America's top law enforcement agency to discuss ways to prevent Donald Trump from being elected president. Now, we should note here that Strzok was removed from the Mueller probe after FBI officials became aware of these texts. But I say there must be more to the story, and today Republicans demanded real answers from Rosenstein.
What's it going to take to get a second special counsel to answer these questions and find out, was Peter Strzok really up to what I think he was?
An inspector general has 500 employees and a $100 million budget. And this is what he does.
What kind of text messages do you have to see before you say it's time for a second special counsel?
We take very seriously the concerns of 20 members of this committee or 1 member of this committee, but we have a responsibility to make an independent determination.
Would you have any opinion on the lack of the fruit from the poisonous tree that might have been erased by Peter Strzok?
Well, as a legal matter, Congressman, I can tell you that if evidence is tainted, then that would raise a concern for me. But typically, our cases would be prosecuted based upon witnesses and documents.
How, with a straight face, can you say that this group of Democrat partisans are unbiased and will give President Trump a fair shake?
We recognize we have employees with political opinions, and it's our responsibility to make sure those opinions do not influence their actions.
This is not just political opinions. This is disgusting, unaccountable bias, and there's no way that could not affect a person's work. Were you aware of just how biased Mr. Strzok was?
No, I was not.
Joining us now for a reaction here in Washington, Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis. He's a member of that House Judiciary Committee. And in New York is James Freeman, assistant editorial page editor of the Wall Street Journal and a Fox News contributor. Congressman, that was wild there, because you saw Rosenstein in this testimony today. And he looked both frightened, and he was very defensive in supporting this probe, saying, look, he checks in with me, I check in with him, and it's all going to be okay. They're taking care of it. Were you convinced?
Well, no. I mean, you go back to when he appointed Mueller to begin with. He didn't even identify a crime. He said, oh, Comey's doing a counterintelligence investigation. Just go try to find something. So I think he made a mistake from the beginning. He criminalized politics, basically. Now he sees in the face of these text messages, we have the lead agent on Hillary, who exonerated her, and then the lead agent on the Russia case saying, yeah, maybe he doesn't get elected. Yeah, we're talking in Andy McCabe's office, who's, by the way, the deputy director of the FBI. This is in the middle of the campaign. But we can't, the FBI, take that risk. We need an insurance policy to prevent Trump from getting elected. There's one thing to have a bias. There's one thing to have an appearance of impropriety. This is actually taking a bias and basically saying you're going to use the machinery of government to prevent the American people from making a choice. That's very disturbing.
James, you wrote about this today in the Wall Street Journal, and you noted that the Strzok email, when he raised that issue of the insurance policy, that really jumped out at you. Tell us.
Well, yeah, it goes way beyond having an opinion. It goes way beyond extreme bias or even hatred of the president and his supporters, which is what you see in some of these emails. It really is suggesting that there was action taken, that I think a reasonable reading of it is that these people kind of viewed their role as protecting America from the consequences of its political decisions. That's not their job. Their job is to enforce the law. Now, I think if there's a more innocent explanation of this, I imagine Mr. Strzok will have a chance to try and provide it. I think Mr. DeSantis may know better, but I would expect a number of subpoenas coming out of the House Judiciary Committee to talk to all of these people we've seen mentioned, showing their anti-Trump bias, their activism on behalf of the Democrats, and I think that this is topic A for future hearing.
Yeah, they look like they're, these are MoveOn.org kind of activists. Or it sounds like well, okay, it's almost a conspiracy inside the FBI to do something to stop this president or this candidate from gaining steam. And Congressman DeSantis, I want to talk to you on this. You want some of these people to be subpoenaed. The documents aren't as forthcoming as they should be, coming fast to you, to the committee as they should be. But will you be able to get Peter Strzok to testify?
I think we will eventually. So remember, Bruce Orr is a high-ranking Justice Department official. He just got demoted because he was meeting with Christopher Steele, who Fusion GPS paid to do the Trump dossier before the election, and then meeting with Fusion GPS after the election. Oh, by the way, the guy's wife works, guess what, at Fusion GPS. So I think you have a confluence of a number of people in the Justice Department, a number of people in the FBI, knee-deep in the dossier. So, yes, we need to know how did they get the dossier? Did they pay for the dossier? Rosenstein wouldn't tell us whether your tax dollars were used for the dossier. So we need all of those answers. I think Strzok needs to come in. I think Orr needs to come in. I think McCabe needs to come in. And we got to put them under oath.
What kind of conversations are they having in the offices? Don't they have, like, bad guys to stop, like real criminals and real work to do at the FBI? But they're sitting around agonizing about whether Donald Trump will win the presidency, apparently. And they're like, oh, my God, he's the worst ever. And what if he wins? And we've got to stop it. And you Cape Crusader, what are you going to do? The whole thing is just, it's embarrassing for the FBI. So all of these people, and James, I want to hear from you, all of these people, Republicans and Democrats, who trotted out Bob Mueller as an unimpeachable arbiter in a special counsel prosecution or investigation. You could never question him because he was a Vietnam vet. He was bipartisan respect. I got to say, in watching this thing play out, I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed with how he's handled this. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah, it's hard to think of what team he could have assembled that would give his investigation less credibility. And you're talking about what they're talking about in the office. I mean, remember, these are careful, experienced lawyers. This is what they're putting in writing and text to each other. You can only imagine what they're saying about Trump and their plans for him when they're not recording it. But I think that also that discussion within the office, and it comes up in the context of them talking about the insurance policy, not sure what that means, seems to be some effort to keep Trump from being president.
FISA, that's what my gut is, it's a FISA warrant.
It raises the question, who else? Yeah. So we've been talking about Strzok and Page
Lisa Page getting that FISA warrant, maybe pushing that FISA warrant. If I had to guess right now, it sounds like it's something out of Homeland or 24, the old 24 show. But it sounds like, all right, you go in and get the FISA thing. We'll monitor what the campaign's doing, and if we have to bring out the big dogs at FISA, we'll do that. I mean, the whole thing.
And given Strzok's job, he's probably the guy who would do that. I mean, get the FISA warrant, given his counterintelligence role. Who knows?
Exactly.